I don't need to be telling you that land is becoming more and more of a scarce resource, especially here in upstate New York. But as farmers today, we are relying on the land of others more and more to maintain our farm operations. That means renting land or leasing land from sometimes non-farm neighbors. In these relationships, we may find them right down the road from our farm. They may be someone within our community, and in some instances, they may be absentee landowners where the land was granted to them or left to them by previous generations. How do we bridge that gap between what's going on the farm and how we want to utilize that land and the people that are actually owning and responsible for that land? It all comes down to communication. Today we're going to talk about 3 different ways that we can be more effective in our communications and our relationships with our non-farm landowners. The first is being transparent. We also want to be accessible, and we also want to be, of course, credible. Starting with transparency, this is a really important thing in building public trust and building trust in others. Being transparent, being open and forthright with our intentions for what we want to do with their land, whether it's that we want to make land improvements and we want to change something about their land, or maybe it's about crop cycles and just communicating, what crops and what plans we have in place for their property. Again, remember, this is not our land, it's their land that they're allowing us and giving us the privilege to utilize. And so we want to be cautious of that. Maybe it's that we're applying pest controls or a fertilizer to their land. Good information being brought in a proactive way is always much better than finding out secondhand from a neighbor that we did something different with their land. When it's coming from us and we're being transparent and forthright, that always is going to come across better than hearing it secondhand or after the fact. So being transparent is very important. Second of all, we want to be accessible. And this seems a little silly, especially in today's day and age with cell phones on our hip all the time. However, as farms grow, as farms go on to the next generation, maybe it's a long-term relationship that you've had with this landowner, I think it's always important to make sure that everybody has your updated information. Your cell phone, is it best to call or to text? Maybe you're an emailer. And I also think that being accessible means being proactive with your outreach to them. So it's not just that annual outreach with your rent check. It means reaching out maybe even mid-season when you're working that land to say, hey, we've been over on your property. Everything is going great this season. I just wanted to reach out to you to see if you had any questions, but we do appreciate you allowing us to utilize your land. A little note like that would go a long way. It also goes a long way if there's been a change in kind of management on your farm. Maybe it's the nephew that's going to be handling more of the land. It also makes it so not alarming is if you do want to contact them in the middle of the season because there's a problem or there's something that you do want to initiate, they're not shocked to hear from you. So establish regular communication with them. And lastly, we want to be credible. As farmers, we are credible and we are probably some of the best stewards of the land that there are. We want to share that information and share our knowledge and our passion with our landowners. In some instances, our landowners may not be the experts in land conservation. However, they do and may still have a personal or an emotional connection to that land. And so it is important for them to understand what is going on our farms, the practices that we're choosing, and the rationale behind those. Feel free to lean on land conservancy groups like American Farmland Trust or conservation groups like your local Soil and Water as additional experts to support the practices and decisions that you're making when you're communicating with your landowner. So, it really comes down to having a good relationship with your landowner, and the key to any good relationship is good, clear communication.